The Gemini is back. Welcome to another epic episode. Of course, want to give a big shout out to Domino's Australia for supporting this build. Today, we're hitting the dyno, Martin. We're making some power. What's wrong?
Yeah, we will. We will.
Why aren't you excited? Dude, we've been working on this car for months and months and months, and by we, pretty much you, a team of talented individuals. Get fired up.
Hundreds of hours, no, that's exactly right. We fired it up, and
what's wrong with your face, Martin?
We fired it up, and it drove a bit, and
what did you do?
No, I didn't do anything.
Did you break it?
No, I didn't break it.
Is it broken?
It's broken. Run the thing. Welcome to another episode
Martin, just hold on just one little horse minute.
Yeah.
A horse minute is like an extra powered minute.
So it's been a couple of weeks since you saw the car. And in that time, stuff has happened. Miles came, we did some work on the dash. Dave came back, we did a bit more work thing. We fine-tuned it, Scott Wi-Fi'd it, all that sort of stuff. It takes a lot of time, so that's why I had the little break, so I could do it all, show you a bit of what's going on. That was all good.
And now it's broken.
The dyno is 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's currently 4 p.m. So, yesterday, I was moving it and we're Wi-Fiing it and whatever, and I was putting the speed sensor in it, and we had speed signals, so great. That was the last thing before I could drive it on the road. I got a permit so I could drive it to the dyno. That's all good. And when I put it in neutral and started up, this happened.
Oh.
So that noise at first I thought was a busted engine, because Subaru Life, that's what they sound like when they're broken.
That would have been worse.
Donk, 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 donk. I can hear a noise. The gearbox we got pulled out of some paddock somewhere in the middle of New South Wales, because Gemini parts there's not that many of them, and they're old, right? So the gearbox was a bit of an unknown. Should we have rebuilt it? Probably, but we were told it's good. So anyway, gearbox, it appears, is munted. So it will still move under its own power, but it makes the most horrific noise, and probably means the input shaft is completely cactus on it. So that has come out. So after that happened, I drove an hour and a half southwest and picked up another gearbox off a complete legend that I met off the internet, who's a Gemini person, and he got me his best one that he said, I'm pretty sure this one's good, but same again, it's a 40-year-old part. And so that's what I have here to put in now. So the plan is to whack that gearbox in and hope that by the end of tonight it's running and working, so that tomorrow can take it to the dyno. Well, you're going to see the dyno anyway, but it might not actually be tomorrow when it happens.
Hey Martin.
Yeah.
What if the new gearbox goes in and it just does it again?
Then it keeps getting gearboxes till it works. It does.
But maybe it's not that.
No.
Maybe the gearbox is a symptom of something else.
No, I don't reckon. I'm pretty sure it's just an old unknown gearbox. And it's not even making big power yet. The gearbox, and the elephant in the room is, can you put a bigger gearbox in it? You can put gearboxes out of like a Rodeo, so a truck, but it requires a lot of mods with shifters and other things to make work, and also diff ratio change. I don't have a diff to change the ratio, so that's a bigger thing. For now, those boxes can support power, and they will unless you put slicks on the back and try and drag race it, then you'll blow gearboxes. That's the way it usually goes with these. So I'm going to put a standard 5-speed box in it, take it to the dyno, and attempt to make some power.
All the fluids that got spilt while assembling come back to haunt you at first start. But luckily that soon subsides, and we can move on to finishing the wiring of the dash as well as some of the interior. Getting the engine running and working wiring-wise is pretty straightforward with Dave's skills. Making the rest of the car work will require a power distribution module, in this case a Haltech PD16. Think of it as a programmable smart fuse box. All our controls go into it, and it tells the headlights, wipers, brake lights, blinkers and everything else what to do. It requires quite a bit of wiring, but it actually ends up being less than the factory loom, and as a bonus, it's all brand new. I've decided to ditch the factory instrument cluster and go with the Haltech UC10 digital display. It's customizable and can show us data from all of the sensors that we've installed, as well as replicate all the factory functions. Programming a PDM can be tricky, and sometimes you do get your wires crossed.
Button underneath. There you go. Does that mean it works?
think the horn's working.
Hey, horn works. We've got to turn it off in here,
The
right?
switch might be inverted.
Ah, yeah, okay,
It just
cool.
might be back to front.
That's so
Very
funny. Horn. Well,
That's a good trick.
that's a
to
good
play
sign.
someone, at least.
It's a really good trick to playing someone. Horn. Wiring. Override switch.
Just turn the whole thing off. We know.
Turn the horn off.
I think so.
Yeah, cool.
Just disassign the wire.
Or just turn generic output 1 off.
Just turn it off.
Done.
That was good.
What else? What else? Something else turned on too. The wipers.
Oh, I have no idea what turned on.
Everything turned on. Oh man, it's alive.
Let's go change my pants. I'll be back.
My mate Brad is back with his magical trimming skills to get the front carpet in place, and while that's happening, Miles from Flux 3D has worked his magic on a surround that will mount the UC10 into the dash. With some clever 3D scanning, modelling and then printing, we've got ourselves a test unit to fit into the Gemini. It fits perfectly and will do a great job of holding everything in place. Next I have to sort out this noisy gearbox, and luckily for me they are small and light in this car, and being old, the access is pretty good too. Before too long I've got the old one out and all the reusable bits can be transferred across to the new one, which can then be slotted into place with the help of a gearbox jack.
So this is a cool little part that I managed to get off the internet. This was $19. That is a speed sensor from a Rodeo and also is used on a bunch of Isuzu vehicles that we didn't get in Australia and I think you guys got in America. So this goes on the end of the gearbox where the Speedo cable normally goes, because it's an old school cable drive system that goes from there up to the dash. Now our dash is gone because we've got a Haltech UC10 in it, but we need a speed sensor, and what's great about this is it bolts directly in to there, clicks in, screws on, and then it's just a simple matter of plugging that in and bang, you can calibrate that on the Haltech. I've already done it with a GPS, but we can now do it on the dyno to confirm it's exactly 100% correct. And there you go, speed signal. And anyone who has messed with putting new ECUs in old cars knows that's a massive hassle, but not with this. So good. All right, it's got a new gearbox. Let's see if it'll move under its own power. First gear, clutch out, yeah! We're going to the dyno tomorrow, people. Let's go. So far, so good. We're on the highway. I think this gearbox that we swapped in might have like low ratios because I'm in 5th gear and I'm nearly $3,000 and we're doing 90 k's an hour. So got a bit of a weird noise from the diff. Who knows? It's got oil in it, so we'll just see what happens. But everything else is looking good. Coolant temp's perfect, hasn't moved. Fuel pressure's great, oil pressure's great. It makes a bit of boost when you push it. We got some squeaky dashes, but for a car this old, stripped back to as far as it was, this is a pretty awesome maiden voyage.
Alright, this is it. Months of work, parts from all over Australia and the world, heaps of favours from mates, some I've managed to pay back with pizza and some I'll be paying back forever. But I am excited to see what this mad old car can do on the dyno. It's got an excellent modern turbo, a built engine and some of the best ECU hardware you can get. And of course the hopes and dreams of this Gemini fanboy from way back. All sounds good, right? But straight away, there's a problem.
You know what? This car hasn't done much fighting until now. Until the gearbox blew up and I had to change that. And now until the alternator's fighting. So changed to a new alternator just to make sure, because it's dyno day and I only got the permit for today. So today is the day. We got here, still charged high on the way. Started low, but then came up high again. So the alternator is not being controlled properly. We think it might just be a basic wiring thing of flipping some wires. So that's what we're trying to do. But the connector then just fell apart and it's in a really annoying spot right next to a hot turbo manifold. So it's fighting. It's just like the old days, except I used to be in the Gemini and now I'm outside the Gemini because the Gemini doesn't work. But we're going to have some lunch. Always fuel the people that are helping you. Don't let them get hungry. It never ends well. All right, let's see.
After some sustenance and a rethink, we reckon we may have worked out what's going wrong. The alternator is not happy and not charging, but with some wire rerouting, we at least have a stable battery voltage, enough to get the car moving on the dyno and try and make some progress.
After a few somewhat stressful false starts, the Gemini has now completed more than a kilometre of driving on the dyno. So this still has run-in oil in it, so we were basically running it in on the dyno. It's done a bit of driving as well, so I'm confident that's all good. So now we're going to dump the oil and put proper oil in it, that it's going to remain in there, and then we're going to tune it. And what does that look like on this?
Well, mate, it's a nice combo. Now, it feels really revvy. Everything is sort of doing the right thing, so it's staying at the right coolant temperature. The oil temp and the oil pressure look really good. Like you said, we've had it on the dyno. You've been driving on the road a bit to kind of bed it.
Yep.
I've just held it at a whole bunch of different loads on the dyno, so steady state, but holding into it to get a whole bunch of cylinder pressure, so it'll push those rings out and really make sure that bore to piston ring is all bed in. Bottom end wise, as far as running something in, you're running it out, you're not running it in.
I see what you're saying.
It's turned, it's done.
Yeah.
So yeah, after we've given it a nice workout on the dyno, time to drop the oil out of it, and then I got some pretty high hopes. It's got all of the good gear. It's starting nice. It sounds really zingy. It sounds beautiful.
It's worth mentioning as well, I know you've seen a broken gearbox and change a gearbox. Why aren't I putting a big gearbox or a built gearbox? There's not much room in there. Hey, these are small cars. You don't have these massive cavernous engine bays and tunnels where you can put big, sequential transmissions and stuff. It is possible, but in a stock street car, not really. So the box that's gone in, it seems like it's shorter ratio. I think it might be a diesel box. It's supposed to be. And if it is, that's a good thing because they are strong. And the rest of the driveline is also the same as a diesel Gemini because the Japanese ones had bigger tail shaft, bigger drive shaft. But the question mark is still over whether the driveline will handle being pushed on the dyno. But the engine, I think, should be okay. And all the supporting mods are there. Or we might run out of fuel pump. Like, I don't know now. This is now the unknown.
Oh, do we put bets down on where is it going to run
No,
out?
I never do this with you because you're choosing.
Yeah, that's probably the truth on this whole combo though. It's got some fuel system in it.
Yeah.
It's got pump. It's got injectors. It's got that beautiful inlet. It's got enough throttle body. It's got enough intercooler.
Turbo's decent.
It's got enough turbo. I think we need to be a bit responsible with what type of car it is.
Yes.
Is going to be where the power limit's going to be.
Absolutely.
But beautiful, very, very, very capable setup.
All right. Well, let's do it. We're going to dump the oil, chuck it back in the dyno, and then it's all Scotty, and we just cross our fingers and see what happens. Let's go. Couple of tips when you're changing oil. For the first time in this case, we've had running in oil in there. While it did all its first start, we've given it a hard time on the dyno. We have done everything we need to do to break the engine in, but now we're going to put the engine oil that's staying in there. Castrol Edge 1060, we use it in all our cars. The most important tip when you're changing your oil is to make sure when it has this foil thing, is that you make it a smiley face. So you put two eyes and a mouth. There you go. And then you pour it into your car. See, look at that. Perfect. Just kidding, you should probably just rip that off and then it pours properly. It's game time. This is where you spank it on its butt and send it on its way. Dave's got to go because he has other cars to wire up now that this one's done. Scotty is going to get on the laptop. He's going to punch some numbers into this thing. We're going to see what power it makes. We're going to see if anything blows up. This is it, people. Cross your fingers. A couple of power runs coming right up. Okay. Scotty is happy with all the setup. Now we fire it up. We do some runs and we cross our fingers. Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready. It's been a long time coming. Let's go.
Good on you. All right, here we go.
That started. Cool. Let's go home. End the video.
It's always a good sign. I put extra straps on it already. You know how
you did?
I normally do one strap.
Yeah.
So she's got two straps. Turn that rear fan on, or turn that front one on, and just do a bit of steady state stuff, and just start to sneak up on it. Wow, that turbo.
It wants to boogie, doesn't it?
It's coming on, eh?
It wants to boogie.
All right, just going to flatten all this off just a little bit.
I'm just watching the boost gauge go like that straight away.
Good sizing.
Yeah.
So I've just pulled 4% of the fuel out of it.
10 pounds on the spring, yeah?
Beautiful.
Should have a 10-pound spring in it.
Effortless, eh?
Well,
Loves it.
it does sound old though. It's a bit do you think it sounds a bit clattery and like compared to like a modern engine?
I like it, eh?
You like it, yeah.
I do. You know, I like
Got the
these
right
style of
person
engines.
sitting in that seat.
Oh, what do we do now?
You do gate pressure run without too much timing in it.
All right. Oh, yeah? How much? So I've kind of guessed an ignition map in it. So how much timing should I pull out of it to be feel pretty comfortable?
2 or 4.
Let's go 4.
4, then bring the 2 back and then the 2 back, right?
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, see, I'm learning. So are you guys, sort of, slowly.
I know that it's going to be fine, and the reason why is just then I've just pulled your 4 out that you wanted out.
Oh, you did already.
And I can hear it already to think. So
You can hear that it's not happy?
straight away now, it's not happy.
It wants more.
It wants more for sure, but the shape of it.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to do before we do this?
Engine safety stuff.
Please.
You've done that. No, we don't want boost in it yet.
No?
Cross my fingers. Okay.
Nice slow one. I'm not even going to hold it wide open on the pedal either, just because I just want to make sure that the car part of it also happy and feels good.
Yeah.
So we're more going for road speed at the moment. Here we go. About 50% throttle. Let it rip.
Yep.
Felt good, so I just kept pushing the throttle. That's good power. All right.
172 kilowatts, 230 horsepower on gate pressure. It's going into the 200s without question. And then keeping it out of the 300s, it's more of a choice, I reckon.
Happy?
Yep.
The car feels good as well,
Good to
nice
know.
and smooth in the rear end.
Yeah.
All right, so the first thing, perfect diagonal line, so no clutch slipping, no weird stuff
Clutch,
there.
tick.
We made 172 kilowatts, 230 horsepower at the top, but see the shape of that curve, how we were
It's nice.
like this,
Yeah.
RPMs like this, we've hit that rev limiter pretty hard at 7 grand. But this camshaft of this engine is saying,
Oh, you think?
the torque's not rolling over, nothing's
Right.
happening, it wants to keep going.
Yep.
So
So we might bump that slightly. I think we
might.
spoke about, between 72 and 7500s, probably, because it is still an old single cam thing, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you can rev them if you build them right.
So I'm going to suggest that we will probably end up bringing it higher.
Okay.
Because I think it's better, like the engine builder will know more about this than I do.
Yeah.
But it's going to be better to allow the thing to rev rather than bounce it off a limiter that it doesn't want to be at.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
you'll be driving this and naturally hit that limiter and think, oh, I've got to shift gear, because if it's making power and pulling, you don't typically change the gear.
Sure.
What do we do now?
Well, you can throw timing at it or boost at it, but probably timing next, right?
What if we do we'll do the timing first and
Yep.
we'll get happy on our boost pressure.
Oh, so if you do the same run, same boost pressure, 2 degrees of timing, no difference,
Spot on.
probably good.
Because I don't want to do heaps of things at once, because
Yeah.
I won't know what made the difference.
Yep.
So I'm going to call that 12 pounds, because up the top there,
I did see it creep over the 10, yeah.
feels like it's got 12 pounds is kind of what it wants to have everywhere there. Comes on bloody good, where she's got 4 pounds at 3 grand.
Okay. I would say that the turbo is a bit big.
Yeah.
You could put a smaller one on, but it's a built engine. You want to let it sing, put the
Yeah.
boost in at the top and have a good time, right?
Mate, it's got a lot of boost and a lot of horsepower for a really long time.
Yeah, great.
On the graph here, we've got 100 kilowatts from 4-ish thousand onwards, so pretty healthy. That's a real good setup.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how experienced you are on the road or as a dyno tuner or on a dyno, you can't be looking at everything at the same time. So I've already set up all the engine protections and they are a little bit tight at the moment.
Yeah.
So if we're running it up, all I want to look at is the mixtures and the power and the torque to make sure we're making gains. I don't want to waste runs and be revving the shit out of it if I've done something wrong and we're not going to get a gain.
Right.
So
Okay.
I'm looking at that. Meanwhile, the software is looking at all the pressures, all the temps.
Yeah, it's great.
It's going to bring the limiter in, and I don't have to worry about that. So
It's like there's 10 tuners sitting in the back with their own laptops.
all it is. I just don't have to worry about every part of it anymore. I do have to worry when those engine protections turn on, though.
All right, run number 2. Let's go.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Logging's on, wide open this time. Go. A little bit of heat soak. As I was part throttling it, walking into it, I'm only at say 40 or 50% throttle, but it's enough airflow.
Yeah,
it's the same as wide open anyway.
Yeah,
so
wow, that's pretty good.
It is what it
that
is.
That tells you it's efficient. The intake and everything is working.
Yeah.
No restrictions.
Yep, spot on. On idle, it's got about 10, 12, 14 degrees of timing. As an aspirated motor, it would have about 24 degrees is kind of the total number that you would call it.
Yeah.
And on 10 pounds, it's got roughly 14 to 16 degrees depending on what load it's on.
Did you turn it off?
And that's the end of that.
All right, it's dead.
We ran out of volts.
So our alternator might still be haunting us because if it's still not charging properly, and the lithium does want a fair bit of voltage to push the power back into it, like there's a good chance that the last few runs were just being run completely off the battery, but we didn't know because the numbers look so healthy. So if that's the case, I do have a spare. So if we need to, we'll chuck another battery at it, or we'll sort out an alternator, or probably both. What was the voltage sitting at generally? Was it telling you?
It was really good. So a lithium battery is going to sit at 13.3 until it gets to 20% full.
Yeah.
And then it'll go from 13.3.
Like a drill battery.
Yeah, exactly the same.
So maybe the alternator wasn't giving it any love.
I reckon the alternator's got nothing.
Yeah.
So that last pull went from 12 down to 11.6, and I think we'll find that 11.6 is probably 0% in a lithium.
While we try and work out exactly why our alternator won't play ball, we're going to recharge the battery, and then to prevent burns from the heat of the engine, we're going to put some rags down and recheck our alternator wiring to see if we can work out why it won't charge. No power means no tune, and it means going home without a number. So the issue we're having is alternator control. Pretty much all alternators have some element of control. Now the real old school way is just basically, you've got that battery light on your dash. That little globe is actually the load, and it's going to the alternator, which is why when your alternator dies, that will come on. Same with batteries and stuff like that. Ours is a bit more advanced. We're triggering it from our ECU. We can duty cycle it and do all sorts of things to control it. But because the alternator is off a Nissan Patrol, we're not 100% sure. We have diagrams, but it doesn't mean necessarily they're right because there's all different models and variants. We think maybe just the control wire and the wire that the alternator basically measures the battery voltage from potentially is just backwards. So all we can really do is flip it. If we have it one way, it overcharges. If we have it another way, we get no charge and it dies, which is what it did. So now just trying our third option of basically flipping them and see what happens. There is always the possibility that the alternator was faulty when it went onto the car, but at that point it did output a healthy voltage when it first started. So it could be heat affected or our triggering could be incorrect. Either way, we still don't have a solution. So the problem's a little bit annoying. It's like we can either have 15 point something volts or no volts. And then it's just the battery running the whole car, which it will do for half an hour, but that's not sustainable. So running your whole car at 15 volts is not great. Like these are 12 volt systems, that's what they're meant for. You could probably do it for an amount of time, but it does generate more heat. The alternator's going to get pissed off. The battery probably won't love it either. Actually, the battery will probably absorb that for a long time, okay, being modern, but it's not ideal. So we have to work out why we can't just get our normal 13.5 to 14.5 volts from the alternator. Could be a weird thing to do with this particular Patrol alternator that we've got. Could be something to do with our setup. But either way, we can't leave it like that because we'll just keep killing batteries. After a few more tests, it's clear that our alternator is not going to work, which means we need to find another one. There's none locally available, which means the dyno session is over, until Scott comes up with a novel approach to keep power flowing into our Gemini, and it comes courtesy of Toyota's finest straight six. That's right, the test engine they use for demonstrations and development has a working alternator. We just have to use jumper leads to get it into our car so our day is not over. We cannot get our alternator to work. We can't get it to charge.
we can't run the car for too long with just a battery. So what we have next to us here is a 2JZ. The 2JZ is going to be supplying battery power for the Gemini. I know it's crazy. It means I can't drive it home, but it doesn't matter. What we want to do is not waste any more of Scotty's time, get this thing tuned, get a number, make sure the tune is happy, and then I'll fix the alternator later, put it on, and drive it back. Let's go. That's fun, man.
Beautiful. This is also proving that the grounding in the car, things are working. There's no problem with the chassis back
It's
to
the
front,
alternator.
nothing like that.
Yeah, right.
How smooth is it?
I know, it's great. I did not expect it to be that smooth.
Oh, look at the target, look at the actuals. Oh. Oh. There's certainly a reward in that. It makes me feel so good.
It wants to make boost, doesn't it?
Good turbo. Good turbo.
Good turbo, good manifold, and wastegate priority inside that rear housing must be good. Cool, consistent.
Truthfully, you could probably still rev it, but you can see there how that looks a whole lot better than limiting earlier on.
Yeah.
Let's just bring the back one up.
That's a nice looking curve anyway. That's going to drive nicely on the road, you can tell.
Okay, so that's those last 2 runs.
Yeah, cool. And that's everything's just a bit cooler and not as heat soaked.
Yeah. So, I think on this thing we're going to go 3 pounds at a time.
Yep.
That was 12 or 13 pounds this run. Hopefully, it's going to be about 16 pounds.
Okay, cool. Run number 4, we've added boost. Let's go. Going. 188 kilowatts, 253 horsepower. That's a lot for a Gemini, people. I know that might not sound like a lot for like a K-swap turbo something, but like in a Gemini, that's huge. Nice. 195 kilowatts. A little bit extra timing and cleaning up the boost curve.
So that's still got 16 pounds, so no change.
Wow, and 16 pounds. A little bit extra timing. Very good.
It's got good fuel system, good injectors, really good engine. Like, this is the bit where it just works. Boost is coming on real hard now.
Great.
Up straight to the target and then just sitting flat.
Yep.
It's a little bit, 15, 15, you know what, the scale is so small that...
Inconsequential.
Yeah.
That is actually a really good number for a Gemini too, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Like if you were going to daily it and not be scared of it,
Yeah.
I reckon
this is
200's a sweet spot. I mean, think about an S15 with 200 kilowatts.
Yeah.
A 180 with 200 kilowatts. Like,
This is a smaller, lighter, more dangerous car to
weighs
drive.
1 ton.
I love it.
You know, you've got a quarter of a ton better advantage over a sports car like that. So, it's, I mean, we're already in like such a good spot. Now it's just for the science of seeing what the motors and turbo and everything wants to do. But realistically, that would be daily mode.
Yeah, okay. All right,
reckon.
we'll keep that in mind. That can be the one
Party
of the boost
mode,
levels.
different thing. Racetrack, open space, go for it. But on the street, that's about where you want to be. That's so good. 211, 284 horsepower.
All right, so that's where...
Very cool.
That's about where we are, 19 pounds.
Amazing.
So we've got 19 pounds, 210 kilowatts. You got a I don't know, S15
Oh, mate.
or something like that.
Oh, this will rip. That'll do like an 11. If you had the right tyre on it, you're in the 11s all day.
All right, so from here, what do we do?
You go home
wanna-
or you put ethanol in it. That's the only two choices.
Do you want to go further on petrol, or are you thinking that?
No, not really. I mean, you just screw more boost into it, right?
Yeah.
Before.
Because it's responding well and because we can, but I do agree with you that you've kind of got to reach that happy limit where you can go and beat on this all day long and it's going to love it.
Yeah.
Everything's coming up really nice compared to we can pump this out and go across to ethanol.
What would you do on your car if this was a Datto?
So I'm probably similar to you, which is not the popular opinion, that about 200 kilowatts in this car and having access to petrol to be driving it on.
Yes, anywhere.
No hassle, no mucking around. And 200 kilowatts, like you said, it is a 11 or 12 second car.
Yeah.
And it's extremely safe. We'll flick it over to ethanol. We'll put more boost in it until it runs out of fuel system.
Or driveline.
Or driveline.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a pretty reasonable thing to do and a good way to run this car.
Cool. Although the Gemini fought us, I consider it a great success. Now, it's a little bit unfortunate we had to use 2JZ to keep the thing running, but that was also very creative and it worked.
2J's a power plant down there.
Yeah.
Electricity power plant in this case.
Our alternator.
It has saved us more than once, this thing, and while it's not ideal, it's on the dyno.
Yeah,
We don't
we're
have
here.
access to that. Just too complicated. So this is the best use of time. Hey, now you've got unlimited time to go and fix that alternator.
And I have options with that. You can use an N13 Pulsar alternator. I could go back to a Gemini one, although the current's pretty low on those. So I've got things and a plan to fix that, and that's not too bad. But it means I'm not driving it home. I will be towing it back to the shed so we can fix that, and we'll take you along for the ride. But Scotty, that number, that power curve, what are you seeing?
The engine sounds amazing, and like I get it, bit old, a bit of there's supposed to be a rattly old engine. It sounds $1 million. It sounds so nice, and it's real revvy and clean on the throttle. Like really well balanced engine, but the whole driveline in the car is dead straight. Like it feels so smooth and nice, like a brand new car.
And you do feel that on the dyno, don't you? Like unbalanced wheels,
You
tyre
can
shaft,
tell
tail
straight
shafts.
away how it's going to feel on the road. So it feels brilliant. 211 kilowatts.
On 19 pounds.
We got 19 pounds. It's on petrol. It drives real nice. We're going to have adjustable boost levels, so you're going to be able to make somewhere between about 150-ish kilowatts to 210 kilowatts with different boost levels. I think this turbo doesn't know that it's been working yet.
Has it? We haven't really woken that turbo up, and it is slightly bigger than what you maybe would do if you were only ever going to make this kind of power.
Nice boost curve though on this combo of engine. It comes on and feels fantastic. So with the ratios and with what's happening, this will be a really, really nice drivable thing. And look at that, the big power band as well. So it's making over 150 kilowatts from $4,500 to where we're revving it to 7.5. That's
Pretty good. And it's worth also remembering that this is, although we put a lot of modern equipment on it, it's still an old engine. So, 20, 30 years ago, making that power on a 1.8 litre four-cylinder, it was hard work.
So yeah, comparatively to try and get, say 220 kilowatts out of your SR20, 4G, 63, WRX.
Yes. Absolutely.
On 19 pounds, very impressive.
So, in a way, all that intake manifold, exhaust manifold, modern turbo, the modern technology has made it sort of seem like it's newer than it is.
Yeah.
Because, if we put a K24 in here, unopened stock and strapped a turbo to it, those numbers would just keep sailing up, especially if you, went to ethanol.
Yeah.
And that is something in this we may do as well. We did put a flex sensor in it so that one day we can do ethanol. Not yet. I don't want to go messing with that until I have the car sorted and driving first, because, as you said earlier, petrol anywhere, right?
You can drive this thing anywhere now. And how big this car is, like what does it weigh?
A ton.
So
1 ton.
it's
With you in it, 1 ton.
pretty at that power level. The thing will be great. You've still got like brakes and driveline stuff.
Yeah, a bit of that to do.
Yeah.
Also, just spares. Like, we're asking a lot of the gearbox and the diff and all that as well. So I'd like to have a spare thing up my sleeve if we're going to turn the wick up. But for it to get driving and to get it on the road and to break the car, and essentially it's a run-in tune for the car, that is excellent.
Yeah. mate, that you've undone a lot of nuts and bolts on this car. So what a nice thing to say, a run-in for the car, not so much the engine, because, mate, she's doing what she should do. It's brilliant. But to make sure nothing rattles loose and everything's good, I love it. I think this is a really, really good setup. And I think it will be surprisingly terrifying on the road because of how heavy it is.
Absolutely. Well, there you go. That's the end of the dyno. There's some stuff to fix. It happens. I'm very, very happy that we got through it, even if it took a 2JZ to get there. But we did get through it. So thanks for watching. See you next time. Maybe we show you a bit of fixing stuff, or maybe that'll be another time. I don't know. Who knows? Catch you next time. Bye-bye.